So now you know how to use the payroll process to put in a new employee, pay the boss, and document all those entries in your journal and software systems. What's left to do? Well, we've got some reports to run, and we have to make sure those taxes we're holding on to for the government get submitted each quarter as well as annually. Basically, your reports will fall into two separate categories: internal reports and external reports. Internal reports stay within the business. It's important with all reports that you keep private information private and secure. These reports are primarily used to inform business financials and almost like a checkup of the health of the business overall. External reports are shared with others outside the business. This could be an investor, the government, or other entity looking to lend money or invest in the business. To learn more about the importance of reporting and payroll, as well as to introduce you to some of the more common reports you'll run, let's listen to a colleague of mine.
Payroll reports are so important as we are reviewing all the information, typically on a monthly, quarterly, and annual basis for our clients. There are quite a few reports that are important to every employer, things like a payroll history, employer wage reports, check registers or payment registers. Even if they're doing direct deposit, often the payroll systems are calling them check registers. And that is literally an outline of every single payment to an employee, gross wages, deductions, payroll taxes, and then the net amount. They still call it a check register, even if it's for direct deposit quite often. All of those types of reports are important. Some of the reports that are probably the most important are actually technically not really reports, but more like the tax forms themselves, the quarterly tax reports, monthly reports as well that are related to tax forms. So depending on the employer, they may be filing monthly reports with the state or federal government. They definitely have quarterly reports. And of course, they also have annual reports that they are filing. All of those, while technically not a report that we think of traditionally with just lists of information, it is the actual form that is filed with those governments. Those are extremely important and are often used when doing any other type of additional reporting to an accountant or for workers' comp audits or other types of information that we need about payroll. It's just so common that we need those, that's just commonly the reports that we look at, even though they're technically not a traditional report. Keep in mind also that quite often as we're talking about payroll, we have to deal with other types of compliance issues for our clients, like workman's comp. That is, of course, an insurance that is often mandated by state, that they carry insurance in case of an injury on the job. And with workers' comp, of course, there are different rates based on different types of workers. So an office worker versus a doctor versus a construction worker will each have a different rate and a different charge that they have. And so reports for workman's comp is also extremely important. They too will request things like a 941, which are those quarterly federal reports, and others as verification of the numbers. But most payroll systems will also provide a report that will list out wages by job code used for workman's comp reporting. So understanding that and looking at those and being familiar with those are important as well. It is very common that there will be analysis on payroll. Payroll is one of the most expensive pieces of the P&L, or the biggest piece of the P&L for a lot of companies. And so analyzing that data is really important to the client. Of course, there's a lot of compliance and tax issues related to payroll. So there's going to be probably a bit more scrutiny on payroll than other areas. So getting familiar with reports, wanting to understand the types of reports that client needs to see, and just being comfortable with them. Which reports will you run most frequently? Which ones do you need to have access to? And making sure that you're saving reports in a secure way, especially with payroll. It is so sensitive and has so much information in it that should not be shared. Be very mindful of that as we're running reports, as we're looking at this data, that we are ensuring that it is staying secure when we download them. When we send them, we always make sure that we're doing that securely as well. So those are some things to keep in mind with payroll. But then also just being very comfortable and familiar with the reports, because there is no doubt whatsoever that you will be asked more often than any other part of bookkeeping that we do. You'll be looking for those payroll reports. So becoming familiar with them is going to be really important for you.